Hey there, sports fans. Robo here with Boomer,
Hey guys.
and we have part two of our Idiot's Guide to the new Hearthstone
So we
expansion.
have an idiot and we have someone who's actually used to the game. So
And we've done all the neutral minions.
yep,
It's time to look at the class-specific cards,
yep.
or the class-Pacific cards, because they're on the other side of the ocean in America.
And bad joke count should have one in the corner. So we'll see how much RNG we've got as well in this second half with all the class cards. See how much they can crank in there, because there was certainly plenty of it in part one.
Who are we going to start with
We're
then?
going to start with Druid, and we start with the Anodized Robo Cub. 2/2 for 2 with Taunt, and you either get to choose attack or health for it. This is absolutely fine. It's a standard stats. Taunt is a nice, Taunt's a nice bonus. It means that you can set it in defensive mode against all the aggro decks. Still trade off with their 1-drops, and nice, decent common for Druid to have. It doesn't have too much in the 2-drop.
It's going to be
area.
stronger in Arena than it will be in Constructed.
Yeah, because on 2 Druids want a ramp in constructive more than anything else, rather than make a 2/3.
Yeah, you're still gonna your 2 drops are still gonna be like Wrath and Wild Growth and stuff like that.
Power of the Wild, so it's competing with those, and it's probably not gonna make it, but it'll be fine in Arena.
But it's very flexible in Arena.
Yep. Next up, we have Dark Whispers. Choose one, summon 5 wisps, or give a minion +5/+5 and taunt.
So this is obviously them. I'll go into this later, but it's obviously they want to give like shamans a chance to make a Murloc deck, and they want druids the chance to have like a feasible token druid deck.
I mean, Token Druid was fairly strong for a long period of time in constructive.
Yeah, but it kind of came about by accident. I don't think they realised when they made the first lot of cards
It was basically just
that
Violet
token
Teacher,
druid
wasn't it?
was gonna be a thing. So this is going to be one of those things where there might be sort of situations where you might just create 5 wisps if you've got a Savage Roar in your hand going, well, that's 15 damage if they all stick around next turn. But on the most part, you'll be fine picking this up in Arena as well. But on the most part, you'll be giving something +5 and taunt.
Yeah, just a
A
mega
little
blessing
bit
of kings.
slow.
I mean, Druid's fairly slow when it comes down to it, but it's you can stick it on your Druid of the Claw, which is generally quite hard to kill.
Again, if you've got funky things with knife jugglers going on, it's okay as well.
Yeah, that could be a bit ruinous, couldn't it? It's like, shoot everything on your board for 5. Here's my flame strikes. Right, next up, we have Druid of the Fang, 4/4 for 5, common. Battle Cry, if you have a beast, it becomes a 7/7. Now, they have started printing they've printed a couple more beasts for Druid, haven't they? Aren't they trying to like spread it cross-faction rather than just giving Hunter everything?
Well, they made a couple of the existing Druid cards, like Druid of the Claw, they turned that into a Druid now.
A beast, is it?
A beast, sorry, yeah. It was a Druid, turned it into a beast. Because he's got like a cat form and a bear form.
So it makes sense that he's a beast, really, doesn't it? I think this guy's fine.
Yeah, you pick him up quite early in Arena. If you're 20 cards in, you might just pass on it. If you haven't really picked up any beasts at all, and you kind of need maybe one of your beasts to have stealth or something.
Is there a stealth? Oh, Panther, yeah, Jungle Panther's the one.
Or Stranglethorn Tiger.
Yeah, true.
If you picked up one of those, I can play that this turn and then play the Druid of the Fang next turn.
Because it's definitely underpowered for its stats. You need it to transfer. You need it to transform for it to be worth it. It's like 4/4 for 5 is not going to be pulling up trees.
You're probably still going to take the other 5-drop 4/4 in the game. No. Well, obviously you're going to take that one, not the Azor Drake either.
No, because that's rare.
It's a common. Gets +1/+1 for every other minion.
Oh yeah, Frostwolf Warlord. Yeah.
You're probably going to take that one over it because, he's pretty much always at least 5/5.
Well, I know you're a huge
Sometimes
fan of
10/10.
Frostwolf Warlord, aren't you?
Better in Pally, obviously.
Yeah. Next up, we have Grove Tender. 2/4 for 3. Choose one when it comes into play. Give each player a mana crystal, or each player draws a card.
So in this deck, they're just trying to give Druid an option to maybe play a mill deck as well. So that's the idea behind that one, really. It's not really...
You can also use it as a sort of mini ramp, because Druid tends to have stuff more at the top end. Certainly in Arena, they tend to have more top end stuff than their opponent as well. So you can certainly see like a 3 into a 5, which is what Druids might want to do, because they've got a lot of stuff at like 5 and 6 and 7.
But by itself, it's just 3 mana for a 2/4. It's not that impressive. Doesn't really do anything. Doesn't really help you win.
It doesn't trade with many 2-drops. That's one thing that's fortunate about it. It's like a 3/3 can still trade with a 2-drop, but a 2/4 generally won't.
So I can't see it getting much play.
Up we have the legendary for Druid, Malnorn, or Malorne, or however you want to pronounce it. Yeah. 7 mana for a 9/7, Death Rattle, shuffle this into your deck, and it's a beast. It's just a big dude, isn't it? Really, pretty much.
Yeah, and when there's not many cards left in your deck, it's going to be a big dude that comes back.
Maybe that's part of the mill deck. It's like I'm either going to hit you for 9, or I'm going to just keep having this 9/7 in my deck.
However, like everything else, it can be polymorph text and
Yeah.
silenced, and then that's dealt with that forever.
Or whatever. Is it a priest card? The card that transforms creatures, the Recombobulator, or whatever. That's something that can work in it. So there are ways to deal with it.
I'm not sure how it would interact with Recombobulator, whether Recombobulator physically destroys it, the minion, or it just says transform, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just says transform, I'm pretty sure.
So it's whether that counts as a destroy or not.
In fact, if we,
probably shouldn't. I mean, imagine it would work like polymorph.
I imagine it would. I mean, if we just grab Recombobulator. I think it does. I'm pretty sure it's transformed, but we will just grab it quickly just so we can see. Let's have a look. Good job, I've got these in alphabetical order. Yep, oh, it's a friendly minion, so you can't transform an opposing minion. So, no, afraid that doesn't work, but there are ways to deal with it. So
it'd be a bit too powerful if it did work that way.
Yeah, it would really. Right, next up we have Mech Bearcat, 7/6 for 6. Mech, whenever it takes damage, add a spare part to your hand.
You'll definitely pick this one up in Arena. Looks fine.
Oh yeah. It's like Boulder Fist Ogre level stats plus an ability that's not useless. So, seems absolutely fine. Next up, Recycle, 6 mana, shuffle an enemy minion into your opponent's deck. So it's hard removal-ish. For Druid.
Yeah.
So it's basically their Siphon Soul. It's not as good as Siphon Soul, but Druid isn't meant to be able to like easily kill things with one spell. So I think that this is gonna be
temporarily deals with Death Rattle and stuff like that.
Yeah, stops Death Rattle triggering. Anything that's got a buff on it, the buff falls off when it goes back into the deck. So yeah, there's doing this. It deals with Tyrion. Without it bringing Ashbringer in, so could be an unfortunate one for you and your pallies, but...
I mean, Druid's typically pretty good at silencing.
Yeah.
But, you might sort of run one. You'd probably pick it up in Arena as well.
Yeah.
As an option, depending on what the other 2 rares are, of course.
And finally for Druid, we have Tree of Life.
Again, this is just for like sort of ramp players, I imagine.
It's another epic you don't want to see.
There's some funny interactions. If you put one in your deck and your opponent thought steals it off you.
With the Soul Priest.
Yeah, because Organized Soul Priest then sort of kills both players if they play this.
In case you ever wanted a draw. Anyway, we're now going to move on to Hunter. First up, we have Call Pet. We kind of went over this before with the whole sort of I'm not because there's no way to manipulate your library, this feels like it's just 2 mana draw a card, which is just...
Yep, nothing more needs to be said. We've already talked about it. So.
It's another one of these RNG cards which will get cool stories when you hit, when you hit Savannah Highmane and play it, but it's like, most of the time you're just going to pay 2 mana to draw a card. Next up, Cobra Shot. Deal 3 damage to a minion and the enemy hero. Feels expensive for 5 mana, that.
Yeah. I mean, Hearthstone's still a tempo-based game, so you can't really afford to be spending 5 mana in this way, really, just to deal 3 damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Explosive Shot. Compare it to this, it's not even in the same league. Next up, we have Feign Death. Trigger all death rattles. Pretty big
Looks interesting.
Looks interesting. There could be some wombo combo involved here. Maybe some actual general proper combo involved as well.
We'll have to see how it works with shredders and stuff like that, if that's the route Hunter wants to go down.
Next up, Gazrilla.
Well, already seen some big things on videos with this. We've seen some guys doing like 350 damage, stuff like that. With a Gazrilla and then like a Mad Bomber the following turn.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, it's,
that just goes like, 6, 12, 24, 48, 96. So it just starts to get ridiculous quite quickly.
Yeah, and also the Mad Bomber will not kill it due to its 9 toughness as well. So I like this card a lot.
It's got toughness on it as well, so it's very, very difficult to deal with.
Indeed, yeah. Glaive Zuka. Battlecry, give a random minion +1 attack, and it's a 2/2 for 2.
Might see a tiny bit of play. It's possible.
It's a random friendly minion as well, which is always a bit of a kicker, but...
Easy enough to set up, turn your 1-drop into a 3/1 and run it into their 2/3 or something like that, but...
There are probably going to be better cards to take over this in a common level in Hunter.
Well, I mean, you definitely pick it up in Arena. It's weapons are always pretty cool in Arena. It's whether it'll see any constructed play, I'm not sure at the moment.
I doubt it, to tell you the truth. It's competing with too much. Next up, we have King of Beasts, 2/6 with Taunt. Battlecry gains 1 attack for each other beast you control. So, beast synergy card. To be honest, you probably only need 2 beasts in play to make this decently sized. Like 4/6 for 5 is about on curve. So, if you have 3, it goes above curve.
Yeah, but I'd rather have pay 5 mana for something like a 4/6 that has an ability as well.
Like Taunt, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this one has Taunt as well, so it's...
Well, I'm thinking more like along the lines of the shredders and stuff like that. I don't like the times it's going to be a 2/6, and the problem is, again, you have to play too many beasts, and a lot of the Hunter cards, you're playing Undertaker and stuff with Death Rattle.
Yeah.
The amount of actual beasts, other than playing an Unleash the Hounds, you're not going to have too much, and even then, that's an 8 mana combo.
Yeah, it feels like when you're playing Unleash the Hounds, you've got better things to do than just make a big King of Beasts. You'll have other things like kill commands, etc.
So it's very well costed for Arena, but I don't see it having too much impact in constructed.
Next up, we've got Metaltooth Leaper, 3/3 for 3. Battlecry, give your other mechs +2 attack. This is obviously ridiculous. For if you're trying to build a mech deck as a Hunter, as an aggro card, because you can put a lot of pressure on with your hero ability as well. So, but if you're in a Hunter mech deck, this is a 3 mana Bloodlust with a 3/3 that comes with it. So that feels like it can be tremendously powerful if you put it in the correct deck. As we said, we don't quite know how easy it is to set up mechs in Arena. That could be, that...
Yeah, but you probably just pass on it in Arena. It's probably a better rare out there.
But for constructed, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see like a.
Well,
hunter
people will
mage
try
out
to
there.
use it. Whether it'll turn out okay is another thing.
But this seems to be one where it's like I'm just going to kill you turn 4, so just a face hunter deck or something like that.
That's pretty much every hunter deck ever.
Yeah. Well, hunter mid range isn't quite that. That's just more annoy you. And the final hunter card is the kill on sight Steam Weedle Sniper. Your
Seems fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But
All boys will die. Like
does
turn
it
after
does
it's
it
played.
really cost 4? Because you're going to play it before you activate your hero ability a lot of the time. Or you could just play it onto an empty board and then your opponent has trouble.
No, just kill it. Everyone can always kill stuff. It's just, there's so many weapons and stuff like that. It's 2 drops.
Just die, don't they?
Yeah, and constructed. We won't stick around for long.
So that's Hunter dealt with, and next we're moving on to Mage. So we've got Echo of Medivh. First up, put a copy of each friendly minion into your hand. Feels like win more, is what I'm thinking of there. Although, I suppose that in the sort of secret duplicate sludge belcher sort of stuff that goes on, you could potentially have more sludge belchers if you want to play. If you want to play around that way, but I think that I'm not too sure we want to spend 4 mana essentially drawing a
It's
card
just
or
drawing
2.
cards. That's all it is. And some of those cards you draw might be quite bad.
So obviously what you're looking to do with it is try and draw multiple sludge belchers in constructed or something like that. Just keep the sludge belcher chain going.
But it's a copy of each friendly minion. So if those sludge belchers will be damaged, you'll get a damaged sludge belcher, but it'll still cost 5.
even into your hand, it still counts as damaged.
Yeah, 'cause it's copying the stats, won't it? I mean, it might be wrong. Maybe you'll get an undamaged one, but typically in the past, if you've got stuff like, give you another example, Faceless Manipulator, that
yeah.
copies what the actual card is at the time.
Yeah.
So I imagine it will do much the same. I mean, maybe it will reset its health once it's back in
Because
your
things
hand.
the health their costs don't get reset when it comes back into your hand, but the health usually does. So next up we have Flame Cannon. Deal 4 damage randomly to a random enemy minion.
People will carry on playing Frostbolt.
Yeah, this is just way worse.
And the fact that it doesn't do the face as well is pretty important.
Yep. Flame Leviathan, the legendary mage card. 7/7 for 7. When you draw this, deal 2 to all characters.
Yeah, it's biggest pile of crap, really. I mean, a mage and Pally have really suffered with the legendaries this time round. Because there's no way of controlling the situation with Flame Leviathan.
No, it just
You
comes
know,
off
like
the top and deals
everyone
2.
can always say, but this might happen and this might happen. Yeah, we can always think of scenarios where it's amazing, but then there'll be all that time you don't draw it, and then once you play it, it's just a 7/7.
Or
for 7.
there'll be that time when you're ahead on board, but you've got like a damaged Azure Drake and a damaged Sludge Belt. You draw it and it kills all your guys.
But that's the thing, you're not going to put it into a deck where it's going to savage all your guys as well. So you're going to be playing like a lot slower deck with a lot less minions for that reason. So yeah, it's just terrible. I can't see it really getting any play at all.
Next up, Goblin Blast Mage. 4 mana, 5/4. If you control a mech, deal 4 damage randomly split among enemy characters.
Looks cool if you want to play mechs with your mage deck.
Seems like a lot of the class cards which are based around mechs are very good, or at least some of them appear to be very good. The Hunter one seems to be really good. This one seems to be good as well.
And the stats are fine on it as well. So
Yeah. So, the stats are perfectly fine for a 4/5. It'll trade with a Yeti. It'll trade with it's Ancient Brewmasters, same stats. But if you do control a mech when it comes into play, the tempo swing off this is going to be ridiculous. Assuming you don't just hit your opponent's face 4 times.
yeah, I mean it's random,
Yeah.
but on the most part you'd expect to at least hit something.
Next up, we have Snow Chugger, the small water elemental. Costs half as much and has just about half the stats. 2 mana for a 2/3, freeze any character damage by it.
Yeah, it's a nice little tempo shift. Certainly if you get it out early, because obviously, even if your opponent kills it with something big, freezes their guy down for that turn and lets you put some other stuff out to deal with it. And obviously you can lock down weapons ridiculously well for several turns. So
you always have to put down it's a mech, so therefore there's synergies going on there as well.
So yeah, you'll certainly pick it up as a 2-drop in Arena. Like when it's offered to you, I can't see any reason not to pick them up. It's a lot easier for mages to deal 3 damage as well, so...
Yeah.
Like, for other classes, the 2 power might be a bit more of a problem, but, mage can just ping something to finish it off afterwards.
Yep. Next up, we have Sun Spewer, 3/3 for 3, mech, spell damage 1. Seems fine.
It's a mech. It seems to have got quite a few mechs, the mages, at the moment.
Well, gnomes tend to end up being mages in World of Warcraft, don't they? They're sort of they're the go-to, they were the go-to class to be a mage, so they get their mechs for being a mage. Yeah, it's fine. 3/3 for 3, standard stats, the spell damage and the mech on top are just really nice.
There is like a 3/4 mech that's neutral.
Yeah.
For 3.
Yeah.
So you're trading that 1 toughness for the spell damage, but you probably play both if you're trying to pack them all into a mech deck.
But we have Unstable Portal. Add a random minion to your hand, it costs 3 less.
Yeah, there've been people asking Blizzard to sort of introduce a game style, which is 30 unstable portals versus 30 unstable portals.
And just seeing who wins from that. Everyone loves their randomness. It's like loads of people complain about it, but at the end of the day, all the big stories in the game come from randomness.
I've seen a mage be transformed into Kel'Thuzad and other big fat minions and stuff like that, and we've seen the Warlock one as well pop out.
Yeah, there's also been, I think it was a recent major tournament final where Web Spinner got King Crush, and that was the only way he could win. And King Crush comes down, kills his opponent. So that's the one thing you didn't play around. Congrats on your 1 in however many beasts there are chance of winning this game. So, yeah, it's not a very good card, but it will be one that will have a lot of stories told about.
I can see it. I can see it getting a decent amount of play. So long as you avoid the RNG of getting a 0-drop or a 1-drop, you at least get your mana back from your investment.
Yeah, well, I guess it has the sort of ritual quality about it, the sort of mana acceleration quality about it. The important thing is it's a permanent reduction, isn't it? It's not like it's 3 or less this turn. It's just permanently 3 or less. So you can cast this turn 2 and then make a 6-drop on turn 3. But you are skipping your turn 2 if you want to do that. So there's always that risk behind it that you could end up losing a bit of tempo. It's more likely a turn 4 play.
I think a lot of people will initially play with the card and just see whether it's worth it to them in the long term.
Next up we have Wee Spell Stopper, which I have labelled as Wee Spellcaster, but it's Wee Spell Stopper. And it's a 4-mana 2/5, adjacent minions can't be targeted by spells or hero power. Unfortunately, the 2/5 can.
I can't see it getting any play. There's just better cards. It's just a 2/5 for 4. I'd rather have a Yeti.
Yep. So overall, Mage did okay out of its sort of common and rare cards, but its epics and legendaries kind of let it down on that front. But we're going to move on to Rubo's favourite, Pally. See what he's got to complain about. Well, he's got to complain about this first. We've got Bolvar 4 Dragon.
So this is... He's basically crap because... they've sort of fitted his lore in. So, as sort of more of his sort of paladins die, you get stronger and stronger. So that sort of builds up his resolve, and that was how they thought they'd try and sort of show that in a card.
Yeah.
But it's just unplayable. Like everyone just knows it's unplayable. And when you top deck it, you're just going, well, I've got to have it sit in my hand for 3 or 4 turns. So, like, because it doesn't have that immediate impact that very often you need, like playing off the top of the deck. And then, of course, he just gets silenced.
Yeah. So, yeah, not a good card. Next up, Cobalt Guardian, 6/3 for 5. Whenever you summon a mech, gain Divine Shield. This thing does not cost 5. You're never making it on its own as a 6/3.
You're never making it full stop. You're not going to play this card.
No.
It needed to be like a 6/5, and then it would have been playable.
Would have been ridiculous for 5 mana, I think, that really. But next up we have Coghammer, 3 mana, 2/3 weapon, battlecry, give a random friendly minion Divine Shield and Taunt.
Arena card, absolutely.
You've now got the 2/3 mana epic weapons because you've got this and Sword of Justice, haven't you, as well?
I mean, possibly you can do some nice things sort of in a control deck with it, where you might make like a 5-drop or a 6-drop as your only minion, and give it Divine Shield and Taunt.
I got me a Sunwalker. Yeah, potentially. We have Muster for Battle.
Looks cool, doesn't it?
It does look cool. It looks like there's definitely things that you can do with it. As we've already discussed, these things work well with Knife Juggler. The fact you get a nice Light's Justice out of it as well, kind of, makes it kind of nice.
Yeah, Knife Juggler. You might start running Cult Masters in your deck.
Bolvar, you could get the 3/1/1s. Okay, we'll ignore that. That's not happening. But yeah, I think it's fine. Cult Master's always been, certainly for Arena for me, Cult Master's always been at its best in Pally, because Pally's the one that just throws minions to the wind a lot of the time. You've got obviously the ability that produces minions, so you can keep just lobbing them in. So I think that this is another card that goes really nicely with Cult Master. Whether it's enough to get Cult Master to see constructive play, I'm not too sure. But I think,
well, a lot of hunters put Cult Master into their deck to replace the Buzzard.
Yeah, so they go Unleash the Hound's Cult Master now, rather. But again, 7 mana at least, rather than the 5 mana combo it used to be. Next up, we have Quartermaster, 2/5 for 5. Battlecry, give your Silver Hand recruits +2/+2.
Still pretty crap. I think if it was a 3/5,
yeah,
it'd be good. If you think about it, if you say you've got like you just use your hero ability before it.
Yeah.
Then you go, okay, so it's 5 mana for a 4/7. And then you think about, there's already sort of existing cards, because we've got like 5 mana that gives you like a Silver Hand Knight.
Yeah.
And a 2/2 on the side.
6/6, yeah, for 5.
So it's kind of similar already. So I think if I wanted to use Silver Hand Knight, out of the two, I'd use the Silver Hand Knight.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't mean you have to have the 1/1 in play for it to be half decent. Yeah. Next up, Scarlet Purifier, 3 mana 4/3. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to all minions with Death Rattle.
It looks cool, doesn't it? It looks cool.
We found a card he likes.
It's a shame it's 2 damage. If it's 3 damage, it'd deal with the Harvest Golems and stuff like that.
Nuke when it comes into play. I think he's fine. Good stats for his cost. You'll certainly pick him up. You are right that it doesn't kill everything with Death Rattle for sure. Most of the Death Rattle stuff has 3 toughness or above, which makes it doubly annoying. You'll kill spiders and make 1/1s. Kill leper gnomes with it. And you'll finish off creatures.
You kill off like the guy who brings out the secret.
Mad scientist, yeah. He'll show you. Next up, we have Seal of Light. Restore 4 health to your hero and gain 2 attack this turn.
Paladin was really lacking at 2 mana. It didn't have any direct removal. So this is a card you'll pick up from time to time in Arena.
I like the idea of it.
It's just for killing your opponent's 2-drop, really.
Yep. I mean, a lot of the time you won't get the 4 health if you use it that way, but it doesn't matter. You just want to use it as a removal spell, kill your guy, and occasionally the 4 health is going to matter.
Yeah, but it was better than the alternative of like the 1 mana secret, noble sacrifice.
Got Holy Light as well that it's competing with, but the other side of it, of course, is that if you make like a sort of 6 mana combo with True Silver and just smack something huge with it. So it means that 5 toughness is no longer like, might need to use 2 cards to deal with this for Pally. Next up, we have Shielded Minibot. It's a 2/2 with Divine Shield for 2. It's a mech.
Looks fine.
Yeah. It's okay. Pally doesn't seem to get its 2/2, its 3/2s, does it? It's got like its Ardent Protector, which is a 2/2, the Shielded Minibot, which is a 2/2 for 2. You're not allowed 3 power if you're a Pally 2-drop. So that's the Pally cards dealt with. We're moving on to Priest, which I think we're all showing quite a lot of interest in, certainly for constructed reasons.
Yeah, I think Priest will be going up a few tiers in sort of the Arena rankings for how high you pick it, based on some of these cards. But again, it just depends on how frequently you get this kind of stuff in Arena.
Exactly. First up, we have Light Bomb. Deal damage to each minion equal to its attack.
So it's their Flame Strike, because of course the idea being is that Priest has a lot of high toughness minions compared to power.
Yeah.
So it's not so devastating for them.
I mean, I imagine, let's just see, does this kill everything that Hunter makes? Probably does. Certainly, it's against the more aggressive classes, I guess. So, I can certainly see this seeing some play.
You pick it up in Arena, because you can just set up situations, where you draw it.
You can, like, nibble one of your opponent's casts to get its toughness down and then bomb. Yeah. You can certainly see that. Light of the Naru. 1 mana, restore 3 health. If the target is still damaged, summon a Light Warden.
Now, the Light Warden is the 1/2 for 1 that gets like +2
attack
power whenever something's healed. So, I think in aggressive decks, it's actually will turn out to be a bit of a sleeper. Because you might make like a Yeti or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the dream, obviously, with this thing is Gurubashi, isn't it? So it's like heal it, damage it, heal its power, heal it up.
I'm thinking more along the lines of, you've got your power word shields, and you've got, your 3 mana, 3/4s that give sort of extra toughness.
Dark cultists, yeah.
And so the idea is generally that you make something fairly fat. If you think about how the existing Priest decks work, they sort of make a sort of mid-range fatty, and they run it into something and heal back up, and they repeat that process time after time.
Yep.
And so this is just like a quick heal. Again, and when you think about the interactions of how it works with Northshire Cleric and stuff like that, you think it's a cheap heal, 1 mana, it's going to draw you a replacement card, potentially get you a Light Warden on the side, power something back up to sort of full health, or even still damage. You don't really care too much about the Light Warden, but I think the way it interacts with all the other Priest cards is actually going to be pretty well. And also, one of the other cards we're going to look at in a bit, gives you the potential to have like a really big fat minion quite early.
Yeah. Next up, we have Shadow Bomber. 1 mana, 2/1. When it comes in, deal 3 damage to each hero.
Oh, if you think about the previous card, Light of Naru, it also does players.
Mm.
Because it says character on it, doesn't it, rather than minion, right? I might be wrong here. Yeah.
Restore 3 health.
Yeah. So it does characters as well. So if you're on 25 health, put you up to 28 health, and you get a Light Warden.
Yep.
And then you can heal yourself up back to 30, and your Light Warden's now at 3/2. So this is one of those cards where you might just have some sort of little aggro priest deck, and you're like, you can play the Shadow Bomber, and you can heal yourself back up afterwards and make a Light Warden for 1 mana as well next to it. It's not as bad as first thought. Like, potentially you could have like an aggressive priest deck.
I mean, it's like the priest. It's almost another sort of leper gnome, isn't it, for priest? Because priest can always heal itself up.
You've got to remember that a lot of priest decks run Undertaker.
So they run the leper
and stuff
gnome
like
for the
that.
fact that it's
And
got
that's the reason, that's in there. But yeah, there's no reason why we can't, maybe see whether that kind of deck works for priest. Be interesting.
Yep. Next up, Shadow Boxer. 2/3 mech for 2. Whenever a character is healed, deal 1 damage to a random enemy.
Again, it's aggressive and small, so it feels like if you got lots of things going on early, you could be your opponent's like not got his minions out, or your opponent's got like a few small minions out, and you get like a Holy Nova off.
Yeah, I was thinking Holy Nova is going to be where this.
You run a guy into their guys to get all of them damaged, and then play a Holy Nova. It feels like you kill all their stuff, then sort of shoot them 4 or 5, then beat them up. He's got a lot of potential. I think there's like an aggressive priest deck in there somewhere.
I just love how it's the punch on the
and it's a mech as well.
Yeah. Just adding to the list of reasons why it's probably good. I think this is probably our favourite card from the set overall for Priest, Shrinkmeister.
Not for me.
Not for you.
Yeah, my favourite one comes 2 cards time. Yeah, but it's an amazing card. Again, just awesome. Again, the Shrinkmaster interacts really well with the previous things we've done, because you'll make like a 3/2, they'll make a 3/2. You'll turn theirs into a 1/2, beat it with your 3/2, and would you look at that, you've got a damaged minion.
Yeah.
That you can then heal back up and activate, like stuff like the Shadow Boxer and draw a card off the Nausea Cleric. So I think this all fits into that idea. And of course, Shrinkmeister will allow you to pinch bigger things with Shadow Madness. It'll allow you to kill bigger things with
Shadow Word Pain.
If you can take out like a 5-drop with a Shadow Word Pain, all of a sudden Shadow Word Death, you're just like, well, I don't really need them that much.
Well, you might end up swapping like numbers round, because at the moment Shadow Word Death was more popular because of all the like huge drops at the end of the game, whereas I can shrink it down into Shadow Word Pain range now. So.
Or pinch it,
yeah.
With Shadow Madness, like you can pinch a Sylvanas.
Yeah, you can Shadow Madness Sylvanas with this, yeah. And then run it into their guy and steal a guy off them permanently. It's like
that's why I think priests are going to be really cool, because you're going to be putting on a little bit of pressure as well with all the other guys and keeping your hand full with the Nausea Clerics. So I like priest a lot, I think.
Yep. Next up, we have upgraded Repair Bot, 5 mana, 5/5. Battle Cry, give a friendly mech 4 health.
Good body, doesn't rely on anything out. You got nothing out. Oh, there's a mega 5/5/5. That's fine.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
But the ability of giving the friendly mech a huge buff is pretty ridiculous. You've got Shadow Boxer already that you might just lob it on.
Yeah.
Something like Harvest Golem you'll probably have, because it's got Death Rattle, and therefore you'll be playing it with the Undertaker.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this will go into a lot of priest decks as well.
Yeah,
seems cool.
Really good. And then this is your favourite card, isn't it? Velen's Chosen for priest. Give a minion +2/+4 and spell damage 1.
Yeah, in Arena, it's just going to dominate games. If you make something like a 2/3 on turn 2, or if you get really lucky and manage to have something with stealth, like a Jungle Panther or something like that, and then all of a sudden, you make that on turn 3, and then the following turn it into like a 5/6.
It's 6/6. Well, 6/6 was.
Oh yeah, turn it into a 6/6, on turn 4, and like smash whatever it is they play, heal back up. Because you're gonna have like maybe like 5 mana, or even if just with 4 mana, you can do the 1 casting cost heal spell on it.
Yeah. Or power shield it, or whatever you want to do.
And then they've got this guy that they've got to deal with, or it just loses them the game instantly. And you've already got the card advantage back from smashing whatever it was in the face instantly, because that's how like Blessing the Kings worked, right? Because you'd have a 1/1, you'd make a 1/1 schmo, and they'd be like a 4/4, and you'd Blessing the Kings your 1/1 turn into a 5/5, beat up their 4/4.
And then they'd have
So
to use
the
a
4/4
card.
traded with the Blessing the Kings, and now you're left with this 5/1.
That they have to use a card to trade with, so the minimum is it's a 2/2 on that side. But
And Velen's Chosen is the same thing. So it's an even trade, but with your hero ability being able to heal it back up. This is why I really like it, because
and then if you follow it,
back up.
if you follow it up with a Holy Nova or something else like that, after that it's now just 3 damage to them as well because of the spell damage, and it just feels like that could end up being like a snowball you can't recover from.
Yeah, it feels like if you get sort of 3 of them in arena, it's going to be very hard to deal with.
Yeah. So we're very. Oh no, there is one more priest card. I do apologize. We're looking at all these good cards. So we have Vol'jin, who is the priest legendary battlecry.
Now,
swap health with another minion.
As we speak, this card is currently bugged. But it will be fixed. The way it's bugged is if there's no other minions, it just kills itself.
Oh,
so
right.
it forces its battle cry to go off, doesn't see another minion, and so therefore 0/0, and therefore becomes 6/0 and kills itself. But it shouldn't do that. Like that will be like a bug. So it should be a battle cry in the same way a dark iron dwarf.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else there,
it just doesn't happen.
Battle cry doesn't happen. Yeah, so Vol'jin, his battle cry should just not happen.
Yeah.
As opposed to him just killing himself. But it seems a really good tempo card as well.
Yep. Swap health with a swap health with a dark iron dwarf or something. Trade your 2 drop.
Or a
into
Yeti,
it,
or a Yeti, turn in. You get a 6/5, they get a
4/2.
4/2. All of a sudden, doesn't look that impressive, that Yeti.
Now, does it?
So I like Vol'jin. I think he's pretty cool.
Or you could just be an enormous troll if they make
like I said, they make
Warden,
Ragnaros.
or
It's
they make
another way of
Warden. It's like have your 1/2. I'll have a 6/7.
another way of you being able to deal with a Ragnaros or something like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Deals with Ysera quite well as well. I'll have a 6/12. You can have a 4/12.
Yeah, and then shock it or something.
Yeah, arcane. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Because you will play that card because it does 2 damage if you've got Vol'jin. Yeah, you will play Smite in the same deck for that reason, because something big of theirs is going to turn into a 2 toughness. And you probably play like Shadow Madness as well and stuff like that, because I'm going to give them something with 2 toughness, and I can pinch their other guy who's got 2 power and run it into their guy who's got 2 toughness and kill them both off. So
it really does feel like Priest is the deck that is going to use your own stuff against you. Like really, you've got the Thought Steals, you've got Vol'jin, you've got Shrinkmeister, you've got Shadow Madness, Mind Control, all these things that
I think you're going to find like Thought Steal getting used less and less, because there'll just be so many good cards that you'll want to play in your priest deck that you just go, I actually don't want to play any of my opponent's cards now.
Because mine are just better.
Because my deck just sort of really works well.
It's
with
like
all the stuff
you
that's
can
in it.
draw all your cards. I'll just have them when you can have all your cards. I'll just pinch them when you play them.
So I like Priest. I think I'm going to be playing some of it. I'm going to try and build that constructed deck anyway. It interests me.
Yeah. Just for the troll purposes of nicking everything. Anyway, we're on to Rogue now. We have Cogmaster's Wrench. 1/3 for 3, has 2 attack if you control a mech.
Average. I can't see it replacing anything particularly in Rogue, to be honest.
But then again, there's a ton of really bad. There's a ton of really bad epic, so you might just end up with it just because in arena, certainly just because there's nothing else.
Yeah, it's no way I can see it getting played in constructed.
Yep. Next up, we have Goblin Auto Barber, which we mistakenly thought was neutral on the first video, but seems fine for Rogue, definitely with the Wicked Knife.
It's a little bit weird because obviously you can't do it turn 2 unless you want to coin out your weapon turn 1. I mean, you know, that's kind of nice, but it is sort of a giveaway as well. Like if you were going second and you go coin activate weapon, but like okay, well this is obviously a Goblin Auto Barber
like
turn 2.
Either he's terrible
so,
or this is a Goblin Auto Barber. Yeah.
So I'll just make you know, if I've got a 2/3, I'll make my 2/3.
Yeah.
And if I've got a 3/2. Probably can't play it, but I mean, you know, it's a great bluff.
Stuff is always in trouble against Rogue just because of the backstabs. It's like they're always in trouble early on against that. So
yeah, so, you know, if you had like an alternative to playing the 3/2 at any point on turn 2, you maybe want to do that, or you just put your crappiest 3/2 out, or even a 2/2 at that point. Like if you got a Dire Wolf Alpha or something, it's like lob that one out instead.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have the other one that we mistakenly called normal. We have Iron Sensei. At the end of your turn, give another friendly mech +2/+2.
We will see whether Rogue can play enough mechs. I feel like the Rogue decks are gonna stay pretty much, you know, as they are at the moment with Miracle Rogue and things like that. So. Fine in arena, yeah. Looks fine in arena, but outside of that, I'm not sure. So obviously, you'd be looking at playing it, you know, with something like, you know, the 4/4/4 that gives the minion stealth, something like that.
Next up, Ogre Ninja.
Yeah, he looks cool. He looks really cool.
Huge, isn't he? He's like huge for the cost.
Yeah, I mean, 5 mana gets you a 7/6 with a huge downside.
Yeah, or a like a 5/5.
Or 6/6 with you know, not that huge a downside as well. Plus, I love the fact that he's holding 2 twigs in his hand, pretending to be a tree. You know, it's not immediately obvious on the photo when you look at it, but yeah, it's like he's trying to be a ninja and hide. I'm a tree.
Next up we have the One-Eyed Cheat. 4/1. Whenever you summon a pirate, this gains stealth.
So the idea is you play it on turn 2, and you play a pirate, and you carry on hitting them for 4 and giving it stealth again. But pirates is probably still not a thing. It needs probably another set with a few more pirates before it will be a thing. And then it might turn out to be really, really good.
Yep. Next up, Sabotage. Destroy a random enemy minion and combo and its weapon. So it's a card that kills a weapon.
It just won't get played because it's random.
Which is a bit sad because it's a card that destroys a weapon. And like we need a lot of those in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil. 4 mana, give your weapon +3 attack. Combo, give a random friendly minion +3 attack.
A bit slow. It's like a slightly upgraded version of Deadly Poison for, 3 more mana.
Yeah, it seems like Deadly Poison's going to be better on that front. You're not going to... Just thinking, seeing this with Assassin's Blade, it's like Deadly Poison Assassin's Blade is also fine.
I don't mind it in Arena, however. Like, as a constructed card, it's too slow, but in Arena, it feels like... Yeah, it's probably still okay at that point, to be honest.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Next up, and finally for Rogue, we have Trade Prince Gallywix. 6 mana for a 5/8. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, gain a copy of it and give them a coin.
It's basically saying to your opponent that they can't cast any spells. Like, even if they polymorph this,
you get a polymorph.
You still get a polymorph.
I think he's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, well, he's got a good body, It's a 6 for a 5/8. Like, the extra toughness really helps out there. So he's going to sort of 2 for 1 a lot of the time because of that, and And your opponent's hexes just look a lot worse.
I'm waiting to see the setup videos on YouTube of this where they both control a trade prince and just go off, like draw their entire deck. Do it that way.
Well, you don't draw cards with it.
Well, there will be some card draw in there, probably. This is actually, they did make a special coin for it. It's Gallywix's coin, because it says, won't trigger Gallywix. Because obviously that'd be the worst thing if it was, the guy goes, I'll use the coin then. Go, I'll copy the coin, have a coin. And then it just keeps going, and you'd end up with 1,000,000 mana each. So they did make a special coin for it. Thinking ahead, you see. Next up, we are moving on to Shaman. We have Ancestor's Call. First up, put a random minion from each player's hand onto the battlefield.
Yeah, it's going to backfire a fair chunk.
Yeah.
You're not going to play it under any circumstances. Plus, it costs you a card, so... Crap.
Yep.
Speaking of crap cards, here's another one.
Here's another one, Crackle.
Crackle, a.k.a. Crapple.
Yeah. Lightning Bolt. Will always be Lightning Bolt for 2 when you need it to be something else.
Yeah, it's Lightning Bolt for 1 extra mana, and that's it.
Next up, Dune Maul's Shaman. This was one we like. Yeah, 5/4 Wind Fury for 4. 50% chance to attack the wrong enemy. How about we don't care?
Yeah, you don't care. It's got Wind Fury. And the idea is, you hex whatever they got out of the way. And try and go to the face with it. But yeah, it's just one of those cards you're gonna quite happily pick up in arena and say you got to deal with this next turn.
Otherwise, you're taking a load. Yeah, I think I like that one a lot. Legendary Neptulon, 7 mana for a 7/7 battlecry. Add 4 random Murlocs to your hand, and look at that overload.
Well, they want to make... Well, I mean, they don't want you playing all the Murlocs the following turn, right?
Well, you probably can for 5 mana, right? You probably get all 2/1s.
But...
You obviously want the old whatever it is.
You definitely snap pick it in arena. It's one of the more powerful cards there because of the huge card advantage you get from it.
Yeah.
And if you get lucky enough to get any sort of
so you want the old
warlords and stuff like that.
The legendary ones, like the Leroy Warlock or whatever it's called. But yeah, his card advantage is a War Golem at worst, so seems okay.
Yeah, you might get you might get an old Murkai in there. Yeah.
What Power Mace? 3 mana for a 3/2 weapon. Death Rattle, give a random friendly mech +2/+2.
Seems pretty cool.
Seems fine, doesn't it, really?
If you're playing mechs.
I mean, even if you're not, it's still not horrendous.
Depends what the other mares are, but the 3 power's quite nice as well, so it trades with a lot of your opponent's 3-drops.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Yep.
In arena.
Next up, Sifting Spirit Walker, 2/5 for 4, Murloc. Whenever another friendly Murloc dies, draw a card. Hey, look, it's a combo with my 7-drop.
Well, it's a combo with Murlocs, I guess.
They want to go
So it's their version of Cult Master for Murlocs.
Except it has Overload, which is a bit meh.
Doesn't really bother you that much, really. You've drawn a bunch of cards. Like Overload ones, like fine.
So we're familiar with the Warlock Murloc deck, so it looks like they're trying to move Murlocs into Chamois territory.
Yeah, I mean, the problem was always going to be the card draw, so this is just that way of solving that problem, really.
Yeah. Next up, Vitality Totem, 0/3 at the end of your turn, restore 4 health. Compared to the other options, I'm not seeing it.
I mean, it's fine. It gives Chamois the option of some kind of control deck.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a heal for 4 card, and then your opponent has got to kill it afterwards. So it prevents 7 damage in that respect. Like if your opponent's got a 3/3, you have to run that into there. So it's like 7 health, but potentially like 10 or 13 or 16. So it's whether you might like run 1 potentially if you've got a particularly slow like a constructed deck, but. You just take something else over it in arena. They'll just be better rares, really.
And finally for Chamois, Zap-O-Matic, 3/2 Wind Fury for 2, and it's a mech.
It has potential. We shall see. You know, you'll certainly pick it up because it's one of those things where you make it on turn 2 if you go first, and then if your opponent can't deal with it, it does a lot of damage very quickly.
Yeah, so Chamois cards, bit of a mixed bag. Some of them were terrible, some of them were not bad. We'll have to see how they work out. And we're moving on to Warlock. First up is Anima Golem, which is massive. It's a 9/9 mech for 6. At the end of each turn, destroy this minion if it is your only one. It just doesn't want to be alone.
I mean, you know, what can you say? You're going to want to use your own owl on it, or if you get really lucky, you know, by getting a minion with stealth like a Blood Imp or something like that, yeah, you're going to hopefully keep that around.
So I think this has definitely got potential.
It's probably more of a constructed card, maybe.
Does silencing it doesn't move its super type, does it? Or
It'll still be a mech, yeah. Should still be a mech in that respect.
I think it's definitely got potential.
It's cool. Looks cool. It really does.
Next up, Dark Bomb. 2 mana, 3 damage. This is fine.
Seems fine.
Hits removal.
You probably use this over the one that does 4 damage to a minion.
Over Shadow Bolt,
yeah. It's good. You know, it goes to the face. I mean, it all depends what kind of deck.
Yeah, it does go to the face as well. Next up, Demon Heart. Deal 5 damage to a minion. If it's a friendly demon, give it +5/+5 instead.
Yeah, it's a flexible card for Arena. Looks fine. Whether you'll play it in Constructed,
doubt it, to tell you the truth.
You know, you don't want to be drawing it off, when you've got an empty board off the top of the deck, you know. So
next up, Fell Cannon. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to a non-mech. I like this.
Obviously includes your own minions, so might kill your own Blood Imp, which will make you sad and stuff like that. I mean, but again, it feels like you'll play it. It has a good chance of killing something, and then if it doesn't, it's like they go to 5/5, it becomes a 5/3, and then they run the 5/3 into your 3/5. So the stuff trades off afterwards. So
I think it's absolutely fine, especially since like it goes in and it will use its ability.
You've got to use it properly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing. It's
a bit of a skill tester, that one, because it's a tester on deck building and timing. Because you can't just like drop it turn 4.
And of course, you know, if your opponent's playing a mech deck, it's a bit crap.
It is a bit crap at that point. Yeah, you basically just drop it on an empty board and then ram it into whatever you possibly can. Next up, Floating Watcher, 4/4 demon for 5. Whenever your hero takes damage on your turn, gain +2/+2. And I take it this includes tapping.
So it's you know, it's a 6/6 for 7,
which is mad.
No, it's okay. Yeah. You know, because it's certainly
yeah, because if it survives
the turn after, if it survives that turn, it starts to get ridiculous.
Yeah.
At that point.
So you're going to play it on 7 just so that you can get.
But you know, if here's the thing, right? There's already existing cards at 4 mana that make this card ridiculous. So you know, if for 4 mana you sort of like make a 3/4 demon that when it dies summons a demon from your hand into play, and then the following turn, you know, you run that 3/4 in, kill it off, and out comes the Floating Watcher, and now you've got like all of your mana still, and you can just like tap and turn it into a 6/6, and then have some mana to do something else.
Or make a Flame Imp and make it an 8/8 after that. Yeah, I can certainly see that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's common.
I mean,
it'd
be ridiculous with Flame Imp afterwards on the same turn.
It's common as well, so you're going to pick these up quite nice. Next up, Implosion. 4 mana, deal 2 to 4 damage to a minion, so there's that RNG again. Summon a 1/1 imp for each damage dealt. So this feels like it has the potential to be...
It's cool. It looks a really cool arena card.
Yeah, it has the potential to be crap or ridiculous. It's like...
Yeah, obviously getting 4 minions is nuts. Yeah, but even if you only get 2, if you already have a Knife Juggler, all of a sudden it's fine.
I think like this is a card which is good 66% of the time. So like 3 and 4, I think are just really good. But like
yeah, but you can always point this at like an enemy's 4/4.
Yeah.
Because you deal 2 damage, you get 2 1/1s that hopefully will take out the 4/4.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but like on average you'll do 3 damage and get 3/1/1s, which also seems cool. And they're demons as well.
And here's one for, please don't faceless manipulator me if you're a rogue. Because that will make things very awkward. Mal'Ganis. 9/7 for 9. Your other demons have +2/+2, which includes our floating watcher. And your hero is immune.
Including your 1/1 imps as well.
Yep. And your flame imps and all the rest of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to be fine picking this up in an arena as an option because, they have to kill it.
I think that it is one of those things, if you're playing against a rogue, you just never play this because your opponent's going to be permanently immune very shortly afterwards. Like, faceless it, stealth it. Oh, right. I guess we're done then, since I can't damage you.
It'd be a pretty ridiculous set of circumstances there. Like, one of them's epic, the other one's... Is it rare?
Faceless is epic, but you've got conceal. Someone might have been bad and picked that.
But that's only for a turn.
Yeah.
But like permanently, if you want to do it permanently, you have to use the master.
Is master rare or is it common? I honestly can't remember. Meh. Next, Mistress of Pain, 1/4 for 2. Whenever it deals damage, restore that much health.
So I've seen someone kill themselves with this card because they were playing priest.
And there was a soul priest in play.
So Organized Soul Priest, and they pinched their opponent's Mistress of Pain, and then ran it into something, and every point it healed, it was classed as dealing damage again, and therefore re-triggered it, and it just killed the person, the priest. Just went, oh, well, you were on 25 life, now you're dead.
Oops.
So that was kind of funny.
I don't think this sees any place.
It's interesting because it's a demon,
you can demon fire it, make it a
like because soon as you give it any kind of buff, it goes into the nuts territory. Like I think as a 3/6, as you said with demon fire, it's like,
yeah.
Because all of a sudden, you're gaining the health back, so you just like tap, attack, get my health back.
Yeah.
And it only has to be around for a couple of turns to have done its job,
you've
because
just drawn 3 free cards, basically.
Yeah, you've drawn 3, free cards, and your opponent's really awkwardly had to deal with this 3/6. Probably had to trade 2 minions with it or something like that. So, there's a potential if you get some buff
Feels
cards.
like this sort of life drain mechanic could be really powerful in Hearthstone. Because we haven't seen it yet, have we? The sort of deal damage, gain life mechanic. And certainly in Warlock, I mean, we know from our experience playing other games that paying life to draw cards is really powerful, especially if you can gain that life back.
Yeah, in World of Warcraft, they've given the mechanic a name, which is now Leech. If you actually play the World of Warcraft card game, you have like a Leech statistic, which is, you deal damage and gain a percentage of health back and stuff like that. So we would call this sort of a leech card, I guess, in that respect. So I think in Arena, if you've picked up a few of the other crucial cards to make this card amazing, then you'll go ahead and pick it up if it's offered. Or certainly if you're offered it like first pick or something because it's a rare or something, you may go, well, I got a good chance of...
Pick up a couple of demon fires, make it...
Stuff like that. It has potential.
Shattered Sun Cleric it.
Yeah, if you manage to get lucky with the Shattered Sun Clerics and stuff like that, like a 2/5, looks pretty cool at that point.
Yeah, I mean the 4 on the arse for a 2-drop.
It helps. It really does help. Yeah, especially because it's a 3/2 as well. So if you think you can run it into a 3/2, so giving you the 1 health and then sort of
coil it or something after that. Yeah, for the dream.
There's potential there,
So Warlock cards we're kind of happy with. There's certainly for an arena basis, quite happy with. I think we are noticing the weaker classes in arena have been getting a few of the stronger cards, maybe just to try and buff them up.
I mean, I didn't mind Priest when I played it in arena so much. I still had one of my 12 win runs was with Priest, and
it just goes for 2.5 hours.
I mean that was the problem. It was super slow, So maybe they've tried to speed it up. It seems That seems to be what's been planned there. Anyway,
Finally, Warrior. First up, Bouncing Blade. Deals 1 damage to a random minion. Repeat until something dies.
so this is a control warrior card, you know.
Yeah.
So in the late game, when people are just playing Ragnaros, it's just like 3 mana, kill your Ragnaros that was on an empty board.
And then you'll have to sit there for 15 seconds while the animation bounces off Ragnaros.
Yeah,
for
the
8
animation's
times.
really cool for this card as well, which is always a good reason to play it. But you're going to play it like turn 3 as well, you know, on you know, just an empty board where your opponent makes a Yeti, you just like kill it.
Yeah.
You know, so in tempo-based games, like it's fine.
Yeah, it feels fine to me. So, Burrowing Mine actually comes off a creature, so we will show that very shortly. Next up, Crush. Epic 7. Destroy a minion. If you have a damaged minion, this costs 4 less. You're a warrior, you're going to have damaged minions, right?
Yep. It seems okay.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
again,
I think
it's
this
more
can
removal.
I think this can definitely see constructive play, especially if you're using like Whirlwind and Death Spite. You know, you're going to have a damaged minion at some point there.
It's whether you want that sort of hard removal, because you got Execute that does pretty much the same for 1 mana
Yeah,
already.
true.
It's going to be tough to find a spot in constructed play, but it'd be interesting to see how Control Warrior changes.
Next we have Iron Juggernaut, which is the legendary for Warrior, which is 6/5 for 6 mech. Shuffle a mine into your opponent's deck. When drawn, it explodes for 10 damage.
Looks fine. It's just a decent body, so you know if you're offered it in arena with a couple of average legendaries, you'll just pick it up.
Yep. And that's what this Burrowing Mine is. When you draw this, it explodes, and you take 10 and draw a card. Well, at least you draw a card from it. You're paying a lot for it, but you do. So, Ogre War Maul, 4/2 for 3, 50% chance to attack the wrong enemy.
You'll take it if the other cards you're offered are pretty poor. Yeah, it's fine. It's just fine.
Yeah.
It's not amazing. It's not terrible.
You'd pick the, the Fiery War Axe over it.
Yeah.
Next up, 4 mana for a 2/5, Battlecry, give a friendly mech, +2/+2. Another pretty strong-ish
So
card.
you know
The
it's
effect's very
a
strong.
4/7 for 4. That's the idea. So, it does mean you have to play some crappy mechs with it.
Well,
if
all
you
the
have
3/4.
crappy mechs.
It's like we
Like,
keep
if you've got
coming back to the
Harvest
3/4.
Golems,
We keep
it's
coming
fine.
back to the 3/4 for 3 all the time. It's like you shove this down, like, 5/6 for 4, huh?
yeah. Well, yeah. You know that like there's some good 3-drop mechs with the Harvest Golem and things like that. So, like this, the turn after seems fine. But there's not a whole lot. You know, you don't want to have to play crap mechs to justify playing this.
You want to play good mechs and then make them better, is the idea. Okay, next up, Shield Maiden, 5 mana for 5/5, gain 5 armor when it comes in. Stats are a bit meh for a 6-drop 5/5.
Yeah.
5 armor.
Again, you know, there's stuff that works well, so you might possibly slightly see one in a deck somewhere, but I don't see it seeing too much play, to be honest. It depends what other rares you get offered in arena at the time.
Siege Engine, 5 for a 5/5 mech. Whenever you gain armor, this minion gains +1 attack.
You're more likely to take this than the Shield Maiden.
Oh, yeah.
So it is just a 5/5 for 5, and then
Which is fine, you know, that's okay.
if you end up doing nuts things
With Armor Smith or something like that.
with an Armor Smith and a Whirlwind, then it can potentially do like 15 damage or something like that on a turn if you get super lucky.
Yeah.
But on the most part, it's just like a Stranglethorn Tiger without stealth that might potentially take something big out at some point.
Or mech it up, you know, or do something with mech. So I like that card. And our final card is Warbot.
But it's not a card that's going to win you the game. So, you know.
This is a 1/3 mech with Enrage. 1 attack.
Well, it's a mech, so it'll be interesting to see how it interacts with the other mechs, but by itself it looks
It's
fun.
pretty underwhelming, isn't it, by itself? Anyway, guys, that is your lot as far as we're done. I think that we're going to be quite... We're going to be on the Priest train, aren't we? You know, we're going to be on the Velen's Chosen train and the Shrinkmeister train for at least the first few weeks after the...
But if everyone ends up playing really slow decks, then obviously that becomes less effective. But if everyone goes sort of aggressively towards mech and stuff like that, then it gets a lot better.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the metagame develops.
But we got to play a few arena games anyway, and see how all these cards work in that first.
Yep.
Before we think about constructed. I mean, I've got like 125,000 gold or something.
12,000.
So it's 12,000.
125,000 gold.
And we can play a lot of arena for a bit and sort of open a lot of packs and.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this has got a good chance, and there's people with tons of dust as well.
Yeah.
You know, we got friends who sort of collected every single card already from the base set, so they've just been accumulating dust. So you'll see a lot of people disenchanting all the spare crap.
You must have a ton as well.
Yeah, but there were still legendaries that I needed. You know, I mean, the difference is I stopped playing for a few months.
Yeah.
Right before Naxxramas came out.
Yeah,
so.
and then Nax came out and changed everything. I think this will change everything as well.
Anyway, feel free to add your own comments about what you particularly like in the set anyway, and or you can just discuss it on our Facebook page. We're a pretty active Facebook group now. So
yep. So that's it for this. That's it for this run, guys. Hope to see you in Hearthstone when we're playing. And for Ribbo, this is Boomer for Carvel Gaming, and we'll see you next time.
Ta-ta.